The Process, a podcast about creativity and experimental music. In the world of experimental music, outcomes and accolades for creators can be uncertain and at times seem far and few between. Therefore, creators and practitioners of experimental music must embrace the one thing they will always have complete control over: the process. This podcast aims to understand this creative process by listening to new works and discussing them with their creators. Each episode focuses on one creator and their music. Understanding how and why they create can inform aspiring creatives and help audiences better understand and navigate experimental music. I'm Dr. Doug Bielmeyer, and I'll be your host as we explore the world of experimental music, creativity, and the human need to find purpose in their world and lives. This is The Process.
Silvae means forest, creatures of the forest, wood, poetry, and Noel actually came up with the title. I think it was inspired by a theatrical production that we're just beginning to work toward with a local bateau dancer by the name of Sarah June. And we wanted more of a environmental kind of theme for the production that will probably happen in 2026. So I think that the title kind of came from that.
And it's sort of a nature theme, or
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Just inspired by the nature theme, and working with Sarah June specifically, we were talking a lot about the systems between, how the roots speak to each other, and the fungus and the mushrooms, and all of that connectivity, and how we could attempt to do even something like that musically, and just the crisis that we're in right now in the world, to draw attention to that. I spend a lot of time in the woods. I spend a lot of time in nature.
Great.
I know Des and Andrew do too, and it's a beautiful word. It's a French Latin word for woodland or forest, like Des mentioned. Forest.
So how does that sort of translate to what we're hearing sonically in the album? Was there, the temptation not to have like bird noise throughout or, something really, cliche or hokey, but were there some other ways that you were trying to kind of evoke that sort of nature, or maybe even just like the idea of walking in the woods?
Nothing necessarily like that. I think Des and Andrew just work so organically with each other that they have this kind of connectivity that I liken to what I was just speaking about with the root system and the fungal networks. And a lot of the lyrics are inspired by my time just like spent out in the forest. It doesn't necessarily have to be super literal, like not necessarily all forest or all woodland, but just the feelings that you get when you're there. It's a place where you can really listen,
See,
to yourself.
See, and that's interesting. When I've been listening to the album, I've kind of had it as a mood album. And I've heard it a lot live, or different parts of it or different portions of it live, coming and seeing some of your great shows. But yeah, that's the kind of way I approached it, as sort of like a mood thing, a vibe thing. And then later I'm like kind of listening more closely to kind of all the interesting little, kind of ear candy that's happening.
And I think of it sort of tying it into the effects of physical nature.
Yeah.
I think of the music in a way like a walking meditation.
Yeah.
Which has the rhythmic things that are induced in your mind with walking. I think there's a lot of equivalence for me in what's kind of induced by the music. And so, that kind of walking in nature, there's lots of, research around what that does. And there's, plenty of personal experience that sort of backs that up. So that would be kind of the musical connection for me.
Yeah. And of course, there's some wonderful album art for the album as well, done by Allison Tannenhouse. Des, what was the connection with Allison? Is it just something you approached Allison about doing something woods related, or did Allison have some ideas after maybe listening to some stuff, or what was that collaboration like?
She always has a million ideas.
Sure, right.
So I think that we came up with a title, Silvae, and then sent that to her with a theme. And then she sent back, as she always does, several images, and then we sort of plowed through them. Yeah. But this was one of the first, I think, AI images that she created. And I think instantly looking at it, just loved it so much. It was so bizarre and weird and colorful.
Yeah.
And the response that we've received from the cover has been really super.
Right. Yeah. It's kind of bright. It's kind of otherworldly, but also at the same time evokes that kind of woods and nature feel. Yeah.
And it's funny that sort of aligned, because it was really one of her first AI images, not just images for this album. And she included it in, a selection of images, which we happened to pick. But it was just curious that it went that far back in her own sort of personal artistic history.
Yeah. I wonder what the prompt was. What was it, like neon forest, or I wonder what we get. But very cool. Well, that's interesting. So it's even, kind of maybe a first idea or early idea in some of her AI experiments. Very cool. Well, speaking of process, we just talked about the process for the album art. What was the process for the album? Was it any different than past albums? We've talked a lot on the show about some of your past releases and sort of recording in different phases and steps, or practicing alone or together. Was there anything unique about the process of this album?
I think with this album, Andrew and I did an incredible amount of sound design and arrangement, starting in the very beginning of the year. We allowed a lot of time for that. And we did a lot of pre-recording. So by the time that we got to the actual recording, we were able to complete the tracks honestly, 1, 2, 3 takes, with the exception of maybe one song, Serenade, that's more of a studio song that required a lot of work. So I'd say that that's probably the difference. Is that
we had a pretty strict rule about if it doesn't mix itself early on, then go back to there's something wrong with the arrangement of the sound design. And so that made the final recording part get delayed a good deal, but it also made it a lot easier because things were much simpler to mix. You weren't trying to, wedge things together.
Yeah. Or even just trying to kind of build it or finalize the form or idea during the recording process, which, happens all the time and is, sometimes fine. But it sounds like you front loaded a lot of that. So it's kind of like we're going to, show up with almost finished tracks.
And for this one in particular, I think a lot about music that's not necessarily kind of band-based or song-based music.
Sure.
And, around the differences with, how a techno person approaches a set or a DJ approaches a set, and kind of what does performance mean? What does composition mean in those different musical contexts?
Yeah.
And I actually just ran across a note this weekend when I was cleaning the studio out, where I had been listening to Travarsi, the techno artist, about how she composed her sets.
Yeah.
And she said that she starts with a very rough skeleton of every single song all the way through. So and then fills out the entire set, and that the flow comes first, and then the details come in. And so this record, when I was doing skeletons for it, I was kind of approaching it in that, with that idea in place, that there were particular kind of geometric tempo relationships, feeling relationships between the tracks before there were details in place.
Yeah.
And I had forgotten until this past weekend where I got that idea from exactly, but it was very specifically.
Well, so it's like the scaffolding then of the building or the, sort of the idea. And then, you'll kind of work the details out as you go. But those transitions, and especially like, I feel like in some EDM and some like DJ cultures, like the transitions are almost like the most, not the most important part, but like that's really the popcorn, if you will.
Sorry, I had a friend who was a reggae drummer who used to say that everything was about the fills.
Yeah, of course. Well, he was the drummer, right?
Your fills, that's where all the art was, and everything else was, sort of in between the fills.
Right. Well, and then maybe the lead singer, like Noel, maybe you might think that the vocals are a little bit more important.
Come on,
of course, right?
We also started playing the set out very early in the year.
Yeah.
When it was pretty rough and not really together, but that's sort of what we often do, is kind of throw ourselves into it. And I don't know how Violet Knox does it, but we all pull it off.
Yeah.
Especially Noel gets up there and, just puts on an amazing performance. So
Noel, we'll say, Noel, are you ready to play live this song you've never heard before, or maybe heard once? And she usually says, yeah, sure. And
I mean, I
would be terrified. I don't know how she managed it, but it's fantastic.
Yeah.
But those situations really help us also develop the format, the songwriting, figure out what doesn't work within that gig. Because something always goes wrong, or often with electronic music, and then we would go back and work deeper on the tune, or rewrite it, or dump it. There was one song after, I think, the Myrtle show earlier in the year in Providence that Andrew and I decided, like, you know what, Andrew, I don't really like that song. It's just so
Well, that's great. So then the live shows, in a way, are they're a way for you to kind of further flesh out the idea, which I totally agree with that. I mean, sometimes I'm a reverse engineering, where I've already written something on an album and now I'm like, how do I play it live? And sometimes through trying to make it more live friendly, I'm actually like, hey, actually, that's a really cool, that's a cool idea. I like it that way better, or I like it with drums, or this or that. So I really appreciate that when, the live process, or the live part of it, is like part of the writing process. That's been a lot of fun. Well, speaking of the recording process, and speaking specifically of the first track, Spectre, how does it sit with the rest of the album? It's, of course, the opening track on the album. I think it's one of the longest tracks on the album, and there's a lot of ground it covers. So why is it the first track, and was it always meant to be the first track, or how does it kind of sit with the rest of the album?
It was, from the skeleton standpoint, it was sort of designed to be the first track.
To be the start. Okay.
Because it moved back from the second track. Mm-hmm. It felt like there needed to be an opener of a different tempo and a different feeling to lead into that.
Sure.
And so there wasn't, everything was sort of in its place, order-wise from the beginning.
One thing, Noel, that I really thought was really exciting, you're often doing really interesting things with your voice, not just lyrically, but also just, with pitch and sort of, timbre, like you were saying. There's these really nice moments where you start kind of high, and then you really just like, it's just like, it really kind of sizzles and it gets very, very big. Because sometimes on this song, you're kind of very close and kind of keeping it really sort of almost like talk singing, and then sometimes it just really explodes. So what were you exploring with that in this track?
Well, Spectre to me really feels like it's setting the tone.
Yeah.
And has this pause. Andrew mentioned like a different tempo, and it really is just this quiet entrance. I kind of wanted to kind of keep that quietness at first, to sort of really connect what it was doing with the music. Mm-hmm. But there are some really powerful, beautiful parts of this song that really, really swell and move. And as the music is growing, I also feel like I want to what's the word? I want to kind of grow with it. I want to expand my vocals, and I just couldn't. The first time we recorded it, because I had the basis, but I didn't have so many of these loud, expressive moments as much, that way.
Yeah.
And that just kind of happened during the recording because the music was so beautiful.
Yeah.
And that I myself was getting really moved by. There's almost like an orchestral situation, because the clarinet and these other other instruments, and so I was very moved.
Yeah, and being in the moment,
and when you have those moments, you're also really emphasizing that lyrical content.
Yeah.
And I think I'm saying like all our thoughts kept awake, the light, the dark, and in between.
Yeah.
Early on, when we were sort of writing this music, I woke up out of bed in the middle of the night. I don't know why.
Yeah.
And the question in my mind was, why did Jimi Hendrix cover All Along the Watchtower? Which I don't care about in the slightest. I have no idea. But
you were like shaken from sleep.
Sleep
being like, why did he cover?
Yeah. About two people I don't care about. And so then I was up Googling all night about why Jimi Hendrix covered.
Speaking of insomnia here, right? He was haunted by the
So it seemed like it was the chord progression, right? Which wouldn't have been my first guess. So I was like, okay, I'll play around with that chord progression. So I stuck it into a bunch of arpeggios, just like arpeggio for that chord progression. It's like, okay, that can go for like 15 minutes. That's fine.
Right.
So I was playing around with that in the space when Des showed up. And so Des came and started playing along with it, and came up with those, those melodies that were the foundation melodies for the piece.
Yeah.
And then I was sort of listening to the arpeggio and hearing like where the notes in the arpeggio didn't fit with those melodies, and then pulling those out and adjusting it. Yeah. But it came from a relatively banal inspiration, and then became this sort of musical genesis between Des and I around adjusting this original piece and her bringing those melodies in. And that's what kind of became the root of the track. Mm-hmm. And then from there, we knew that we wanted to have both Bob Familiar and Glenn do some contribution to the record. Yeah. And we also knew that we didn't want it to be kind of an overdub. We wanted it to be something that could be performed live. Mm. So we went and visited them at Bob's studio, sort of with the idea that, hey guys, you're going to come, you're going to play over these two tracks, and then we're just going to grab pieces out of it. It's not going to be parts. It's going to be things that we find as kind of bits of inspiration that we can weave back into the song. Yeah. And so those are there's swells and things that you were hearing as those kind of off tempo bits. Yeah. Those are parts of Bob's.
Great.
which are sometimes the original parts, sometimes they've been reversed, sometimes they have reverb and things on them. And they came in a little later, and I heard them as one of the things that Noel then started to react to as structural pieces of the song. Mm-hmm. And when they got kind of ramped through that whole song, and there was this coda piece at the end, the coda piece was where they had kind of really gelled.
Yeah.
And it was that, like, there was, I think, like 6 or 7 different lines that, Glenn just spills melodies out constantly. It's just it's beautiful. And it was, we took one of those, and it's kind of doubled, it's slowed, and then it becomes that kind of coda melody at the end where that rises. And there's little echoes of it earlier in the song too. But the looseness of their playing is part of what gave that tempo, that kind of shifting feeling. And then Des and I went back and reworked the song structure around where we were fitting in. I took a bunch of samples, and the Des and I together kind of went through and say which ones fit, which ones are, some of them sounded really cool, but Des would say, no, that seems like it interferes with the melody here, which was, her ear is always really on about that.
Was that important to have it be something that then you could do live? Is that just like a practical thing? Because sometimes you do shows together, so then you could just do it live? Or...
No, it's really aesthetic. Because the idea of playing a whole track, especially by a physical instrument as a backing track, just doesn't feel like it's part of what's happening in the room. Sure. And so, to me, at least, it was important to pull those things back in and make them part of the composition.
Well, so I guess my final question then is Spectre actually a cover of All Along the Watchtower? Is that what you were alluding to, Andrew, without, copyright infringement? Is that what you were alluding to? Or, and also I have a follow-up question. So why did Jimi Hendrix do a cover of All Along the Watchtower?
I want to know that too.
Yeah. What did the Google search reveal? Do we still not know the answer to that, or
we'll have to look it up?
Andrew,
do you know? Or
we'll probably have to have some kind of seance or something. We'll do a Ouija board
because we don't know. We never know.
If the Ouija board ends up with a chord progression, we'll have our answer.
I see. Well, I would think if it shook you out of your sleep, but this is certainly not an album that will shake you out of your sleep. If anything, it creates a really relaxing mood, and I've enjoyed listening to it over the last week or so. And it's funny, I was even listening to it today when I was out for a walk in, Somerville nature, So, this has been fantastic talking to you all. I love having you guys on the show, and it's great that you have a new release out, Silvae. It's released everywhere, right? It's streaming everywhere. It's available on Bandcamp. So before I let you go, why don't you tell us all the places we can check this out, and then if you have any upcoming shows here in November that people can go and check out.
Yeah, I definitely want to give a shout out to Somewhere Cold Records that releases for us. It is available on all digital platforms. CDs just arrived. Of course, you can order digital, and vinyl is now available. If anybody's interested in vinyl, you can order it on the Somewhere Cold Records website through a UK company, Elastic Stage, or you can contact us directly. We'll have our own stash soon. So also Amiga Project in Germany released the album as well. And let's see, upcoming shows. Our next Violet Knox show will be November 16th at Feeding Tube Records in Western Mass. It'll be like a small in-store kind of very special show. If anybody's out that way and wants to come check it out, please do. And then we have a really fantastic event on December 11th at the MIT Museum that will be part of the After Dark party. I think is it 6 to 9 maybe? And Sarah June will also be with us there doing her bateau dance. Justin Looper will be doing visuals. And we have special guest DJ Anna Roman coming up for New York City to DJ the event.
Thanks to Andrew, Des, and Noel of Violet Knox for sharing their time and music with us. If you enjoyed this episode, please check out other episodes in the series. And as always, like, subscribe, or leave a comment in your preferred podcasting app. I'm Dr. Doug Bielmeyer, and this has been The Process.